Welcome back to another video. We will be doing Fury today.
She'll let you f her for a chocolate bar. It's not true. It's not true? No. Okay, it's not true.
It was my first time watching it. They've already seen it. I mean, most of the movies I haven't seen. So,
of course.
anyways.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Without further ado, I say we just get right into it, boys. First ratings. This was a very great movie. Very long movie, but super great. By the way, we don't share ratings until we record our videos. I'm gonna give this movie a 9.5 out of 10.
Like that?
9.5 out of 10. 9.5 out of 10. Very great movie. Anyways,
I would give this movie probably 8.5 out of 10.
wow.
A little bit lower than yours.
Wow.
For good reason.
Alright.
I think I'm going to be more towards John on this one. I'm also going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. This movie was really great. My little brother showed it to me. I don't know why he's watching this movie. He should not be watching it. But he showed it to me about a couple months ago, and I'm glad I got to show Mr. Jonathan this. But yeah.
Jumping right into the positives. Cast was phenomenal. Acting was phenomenal. It's hard to talk about the positive and negatives without talking about some of the scenes. And so honestly, I guess the positives was just you could really tell just the amount of passion and emotion people had towards one another, especially with the younger boy and the girl that were in it.
I absolutely love this movie. This movie is one of those movies that you can see the brotherhood between people, especially in the difficult times of war. I absolutely love just the dynamic of that, but also bringing in the true reality of war is hard. It's very difficult. It can be difficult on people to try to force themselves to kill people to defend a cause that they may not see fully. But also at the same time testing your faith with each other to see if you can really trust if the person right next to you is actually reliable. It's really a good movie that shows how I say this with a pun. A well-oiled machine, i.e. being a tank, could be something that requires everyone to do their part in order for them to survive.
I think for me, kind of dipping in both of y'all's pools. I just came up with that.
that's a crazy
Dipping in both of y'all's buckets. The acting was probably the biggest standout in this movie. You got Jon Bernthal, Michael Pena, Brad Pitt's in this movie. It's just, Shia LaBeouf. Everyone just completely brought their A game with this movie. Often when I hear stories about people who have been in the military, they said the people they work with, they form a close bond with them, and you can really tell with this movie that even though they butt heads all the time, deep down under all the hardened skin that they got, they really do all love each other. And they're willing to just put their lives on the line to protect each other. During when y'all were talking about your positives, I tried to think of which of the main characters was the biggest standout, and I honestly cannot come to a conclusion. I feel like every character did what they were assigned to do. I think they did it to the fullest of their ability and did it just incredibly, and they were all the standouts. I don't really think I can pick one off the top of my head.
Jumping into the negatives, this is complete opposite of The Shining. No, it was I really honestly cannot think of any negatives. The only thing that we kind of keep talking about is just you kind of forget how long these movies are, which I don't know if that's really considered a negative, but it was a great, it's a great movie. I just kind of felt whenever I was watching, I was this is not feeling 2 hours, this is 5 or 6 hours. I guess the aspect of war is negative, the conflict, and just to think that I just cannot imagine seeing someone that you truly care about just die, and then you just had to deal with it,
I will give the reasoning of my a little bit lower score. One, it's always war documentaries always have a little bit of a sting with me because they're really formatted to give attention, to keep your attention rather than giving the full story, which in my case, it's that kind of takes out probably some of the important parts of their stories of showing the hardship, because they're trying to keep an even flow and trying to cut all these things out from the original story to make it more quote-unquote entertaining and engaging. I didn't really like how we just kind of show with Logan Lerman, like just instantly. We don't get like a backstory of how he got into the war, because he said he was deployed for 8 weeks, but we don't know what his training experience was like. Because I really kind of like base my war movies off of like Saving Private Ryan and Hacksaw Ridge, because it gives a lot more detail and depth to the actual character's backstory before the war, so that way you feel more of an emotional connection with them. Even then, you know, seeing as, you know, Logan Lerman was, I don't want to spoil it, so, well, we'll probably get into spoilers after this one.
Yeah.
But there wasn't, I don't think for myself, there wasn't really too much of an emotional attachment to the main character, other than the ones that were, you know, when it came to the Band of Brothers kind of mentality. That's what I kind of felt like at 8.4 or 5 was.
Going off of that, actually, I feel like just throwing Logan Lerman right into the middle of the action, I feel like, I don't want to say it upped the stakes even more, but it made me feel more of a more like emotional connection with him, only because that's probably like how things actually were during that time, you know, because he said like he's not trained to shoot dead bodies, he's trained to type 60 words a minute. Like, that's how a lot of it was. He was clearly like drafted into the war, not being trained in anything that, you know, the group that he's assigned with. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on that I feel like that makes it more realistic. Really, as far as negatives go, I think I'm just with John on this. It feels much longer than it actually is. I know we kept checking, not really kept checking, but we saw at the beginning of the movie, it was only like 2 hours long, and it felt like 3+ hours. Yeah. In my opinion.
And we didn't, I mean, we watched it straight through. We didn't pause it.
Yeah, we didn't pause
and
it.
I was just like, this is crazy long.
It just felt too long, and I feel like there was a lot of aspects in this that felt pretty repetitive. Like, you know, like they go from one battle, like in just the middle of a field, and then they just have a break, regroup, go into another battle, which that's obviously how it was, but for the movie's way of it, it just felt pretty repetitive. For some viewers, it could be like seen as a little boring, but I feel like I discussed earlier, like that really dives into like the realistic aspect of it, because that's probably really how it was back in World War II.
So jumping into favorite scenes, spoilers, kind of bouncing off of my positives with like the acting and everything. I think one of my favorite scenes, what's the boy's name that had the affection towards that girl? That one scene when Norman finds out that Emma is hurt, like she's dead, and like he's just trying to like, dude, that was one of my favorite scenes. Just the amount of like emotions, stuff on like how like what life was really like you see a loved one or you see somebody that you really have feelings for just die, and you have to like move on. Like, I feel like acting wise, one of my favorite scenes from that entire movie. I honestly, I felt for it.
My favorite part was whenever, spoilers, when majority of the group died, and how they still just fought on just through it, and they didn't have time to process it, which is so real because they're already trying to survive as it is, and you know they're mourning the loss of their brother, someone that they've fought with and done life with, and it's very, you know, just it's sad to see that, because like during that scene I was imagining like if I was in war with these two and you know one of them died, I would be spending time to mourn. I wouldn't care if I lived or died. I would want to mourn over my friend for their sake, because of the connection with them. And it's powerful. It's really powerful how emotional that entire scene was.
I think I'm not really gonna talk like, dude, I just swallowed in a weird spot. I'm not crying, I swear. I'm not really gonna talk about like these. I have 2 scenes in mind, but they're not like my favorite scenes. They're just like 2 scenes that I remember. Probably 3 scenes actually. There's a third one. The first one, Michael Pena's death, the way he dies when, you know, the grenade gets dropped into the tank and Logan Lerman's like, yo, there's a grenade, and then Michael Pena just grabs it and like lays on it, and like he probably just saved, like, I don't even know who was all left in that moment. Another scene which shows just like the tragedy of war was Logan Lerman's character when he's like literally begging Brad Pitt's character to kill him, just because of like how much he's seen and like what he's had to do. He's just literally begging him to kill him rather than him having to fight like another day. It's it was just emotional to see that. The one scene towards the very end, Shia LaBeouf is like sharing his favorite Bible verse that he thinks about a lot from
Isaiah 6:23.
I think so, yeah.
Nice.
And talking about the Lord saying, like, who shall I send? And Isaiah says, send me, like, you should send me to there. I feel like those ones were probably the big ones that stood out to me when watching this.
Thank you guys for watching our review on Fury. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the things, share, and yeah, we appreciate all y'all's support. Hopefully, our goal, our goal by the end of 2025, 250 subscribers. Alright, you heard the man.
Get us there.
Get us there, share.
Please.
Peace out.
Peace out.